Good evening, Speed Gaming 2. This is the matchup that all but two players wanted. But we've all been excited knowing this was possible. And the two people that weren't necessarily looking forward to it during the Swiss rounds, well, they're the ones playing it. We have a battle of the unbeaten, a clash of titans. It is Edgeworth versus Crab Cakes. And I am joined in the booth tonight by a man who has dealt with one of these runners in the Swiss flags. Shadow Walker, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good and very excited for this matchup. Edgeworth, longtime member of the community, #1 on the SRL leaderboard for Final Fantasy Randomizer, an absolute titan in the community, versus Crab Cakes, newer member of the community, but has been a very, very strong presence, already worked her way up to #3 on the SRL leaderboards. So this should be an absolutely fantastic matchup, and we are seeing a mirror match as far as party goes, both of them running Fighter and Rainbow.
I am a little bit surprised. Edge in these flags for this round with the forced party member has practiced with the double fighters. He switches to the mage. There's a lot of versatility in this party. If you decide to keep all 4 light warriors alive, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. If you decide, maybe I just need 3 party members, it's very versatile enough to get away with that.
Yeah, absolutely. This party offers probably the best flexibility that you can get out of this particular matchup, given that we have the Banned Thief and the Forced Black Mage. You always want to have a fighter here, and having each of the different mages represented makes a lot of sense. It's a very common strategy, has a lot of safety, a lot of flexibility, and I think these two are absolutely great people to show off this the power of this party.
For the sake of the tournament, one of these 4-0s is going to drop to 4-1. They'll still be in the brackets, but not in position for a bye. The other will be potentially our only 5-0 runner. We could have just one coming out of the Swiss rounds, which was probably a little bit surprised in advance, but that's the way it worked out.
Yeah, the math was kind of funny on it, and it worked out that one of the 5-0s has to play, or one of the 4-0s has to play a 3-1, and that particular matchup is coming up on Sunday. So we will find out if One Fine Day can earn themselves a buy-in going into the bracket stages, or if I can potentially do that upset and force an extra runner into the mix.
Earlier this evening, we saw TaskSpot play at RPG Limit Break. Tonight, we're about to see about as close as we can get to human tasks between these two runners. They know this game well, they are at the top of their game, and we are looking forward to them putting on a show. We will get them started very soon, and looking forward to a whole lot.
Alright, so we're just about at the 8 o'clock mark. Runners are lined up at the gates, just waiting on the gatekeeper. And in the meantime, we are hoping to see some very fast routing here. Crab Cakes and Edgeworth, both extremely good runners, are going to show off just how fast you can route this game. And we will see how long it is that we end up being here. If they get a jet seed, this could be extremely fast, as short as maybe 1:15 or so. And even if we see a trolley seed, I don't expect this will take a full 2 hours.
Now, they have both put in a lot of practice to get where they are. They're not 4-0 for lack of effort to be there. Edge has been very quiet this last week. In the last few days, we haven't seen him streaming a lot like he normally does, which tells me he's been doing a lot of quiet practice.
Alright, and our runners are off. Our first look at White Magic. Fade locked out to White Mage. It's a good thing we brought those. Temper and Ice 2 at level 1 Black Magic. So really strong options for this early game.
Ice 2 is a great sweeper spell in the early game. Ice generally the best element to have if it's going to be an element. Fade for the White Mage is even a better AoE option, so we'll see how they react to that. Also, a subtle thing that Edge does is he really loves to get into the weapon shop, get a cheap weapon in the hands of the fighter. It gives him more attack power in the early game. Just that extra bit of oomph that can sometimes carry you through fights.
Yep, Edgeworth also taking the time to pick up a wooden armor for his fighter, just to have a little bit of absorb for his tank. Crabcakes is going to be our first one into Temple of Fiends. Give us a look at these first 3 chests.
The other thing about having 3 casters is you have an extra 2 spell charges, which doesn't do a lot of good when one of your party members is turned to stone, but 2 extra spell charges available when you come in Temple of Fiends.
So we've got some Brack Gurwolves. I think it was the Gurwolves, not the regular wolves that had it. Oh, it is the wolves. Never mind. Brack Wolves.
Identical. It just mirror image, both of them. The Red Mage in spot number 2 took the Brack.
Crabcakes, find yourself a great axe in the top left chest. The fighter's going to have something to swing. And here come the Brack Wolves again. And Crabcakes reset.
Can't swing it if you're turned to stone. That's an interesting call to just go ahead and reset, because you could get through Garland with just the mages, but at the same time, we weren't having a lot of luck getting there. And there they go. And I wouldn't be surprised if
full stone party.
I won't be surprised if Edge does the same thing that Crabcakes does and just takes the fight against Garland. I don't think the Great Axe is enough of a difference that you're worried about getting that.
Yeah, it looked like there was about 4 or 5k up the top left room. So that'd be the one thing I'd be kind of missing here. So we see the Ruby and the Oxyel from the Royals. Not the progression items we want to be seeing early on. But yeah, I don't think there's enough to really go justify the extra chest checks. Especially when you know that the Brack Wolves are sitting there waiting for you.
Yeah, you also have to worry about them on this overworld if you're going to take the walk over to Provoca or to Elfland either way, because they will show up on this overworld, and we have a distinct lack of save items right now.
Yeah, if we can avoid the first strikes from these wolves, I think we're going to see a lot of AoEs coming out anytime we see these wolves, just as Crabcakes is doing. It's better to be able to nuke them down in one go rather than trying to fail to run and end up losing your whole party to Brack.
Especially if you're going to and in, so you're getting all these spell charges back anyways, then it doesn't hurt you at all to have spent them on this walk.
We have Volcanic asking for early on-rack progression, and it is on-rack! Oh boy.
Oh.
Do we have a loose ship or canoe here in Onrak to get ourselves out of the inner sea?
Well, we don't have the Oxyel, so we can't get in it, but do we have it in Montoya?
We did get the Oxyel. It was Ruby and Oxyel from the King and
I'm sorry,
Princess.
I thought it was Bottle. My bad.
That's alright. So, interesting options here. Crabcake is going to go ahead and go check the Matoya chests now while Edgeworth is going over to Provoca to see Onrak.
The nice thing about Sea Shrine, though, is because it's right next to an inn, you have the option to dive in, use your AoE magic, and fade very scaled for this, that you can get levels off that first floor and get right back out.
Oh, absolutely. You could dive the first 2 chests, see if there's anything good in them, throw out the Fade and Ice 2s that you've got, and then go back to the inn and rest up before you get back on your merry way. It looks like Edgeworth is going to go for a safer play and just start going west.
I'll say the counter-argument against that is runners frequently do not like double-dipping dungeons, going in and then come back later. And right now, going all the way through Sea Shrine to get to Kraken, ugh.
Oh yeah, it's it would definitely be a long shot to try and make it all the way to Kraken with this party. Fade and Ice 2 being our only AoEs on the table, that doesn't leave us a lot of options for being able to kill trash mobs and or Kraken.
Yeah, even leveled up and getting more spell charges, it's still not allowed. Oh, hey, MSF plays. Just a, oh, by the way, thing.
We're going to have a fun overworld traverse until we can really get going.
Yeah, it looks like there's a decent walk-off power cycle Edgeworth is using. He's purchased several cabins to be able to use it. That speeds up your overworld travel tremendously.
Crabcake's making great time, almost made it over to the Dwarf Cave now. Looks like she's decided to leave Rudy petrified, so going with a 3-man party for now.
Could be a financial-based decision because those softs are over 300 gold, but you get more experience than everybody else. It's like getting a 30% experience bonus-ish.
Well, I wonder if in the back of Crabcake's mind, in the event that we don't see ship or canoe, oh, we see the bottle as our loose item, our first loose item in Dwarf Cave. I wonder if in the back of Crabcake's mind, trying to keep the Red Mage petrified in order to get extra levels in the event that we have to go do Sea Shrine.
So I mentioned that Edge had been taking advantage of any gap off the power cycle. He actually got into Dwarf Cave first, got the bottle first between these two runners, despite Crabcakes having walked this way significantly earlier. So, see if CC is able to adjust to that walk, maybe after there's some more money in the bank and some more camping supplies.
Crabcake's using her last cabin. Edgeworth finds Crescent Lake down here at Elfland, so we will have an incentive item on the table here. Let's see what we...
Seed is not really cooperating on the housing options. We've seen houses in Crescent Lake and Canaria, but the only place we had cabins for sale was all the way back over at Onrax, so I believe both our runners are now out of those.
It looks like Heal 2 and Life 2 at level 6, Quad X, and we have a cube from the Old Men, so Marsh is going to be required very early.
Yeah, but the seed is telling us now there's only two places you can go to even get items, but only one of those is incentivized. So looking heavily like either we have ship or canoe at the bottom of Marsh, or some fetch quest item that leads to it.
Yeah, so at this point, we've already found one loose item, so it's very likely we only have one more loose item. So the progression is probably going to be at Marsh Cave. If it's not at Marsh Cave, that's going to be interesting because it means our other loose item will be in Sea Shrine. Advantage, you know where your loose items are. Disadvantage, you have to go get it out of Sea Shrine.
Both our runners legging around a statue that used to be a red mage. Question in chat, did we see the Matoya chests? Yes. There wasn't anything particularly noteworthy.
Edgeworth making great use of the cabins that had remaining, has made it over to Marsh Cave now, and is starting his incentive down.
Gotta kind of hope for a mild Marsh Cave in this scenario. Or, you know, if you're a runner who enjoys this kind of masochist thing, you can root for a horrible one. But the runners are hoping for an easy one. Good news for them is that heal potions were very cheap. They were only 12 gold each, so they should have an ample stock for this.
Well, Arachnid's wasting our time with Heal 3 and also throwing out some AoE of their own. They've got Heat today, so a little bit annoying. I don't think we have a whole lot of heal potions coming down here, so hopefully we don't see too many of them.
Chat is now rooting for a tail to be here.
Oh yeah, the chat wants the trolliest option possible. They want to see a tail inside of here that leads to, I don't know. Well, I guess it couldn't be a Mystic Key loose, because we'll need to get either canoe or ship as our next progression option. Or a fetch quest that leads to one of those two.
Yeah, I was curious how much Edge would spend time checking chests here, or if he would just beeline for the incentive item with the lack of resources. He is checking everything on this south side so far. He has bypassed the north side to this point.
Crabcake's headed back north over toward the Canaria area. I'm not sure if she's after cabins or if she's making a wild gamble on Sea Shrine. And
or both.
if that's the case, that would be very interesting. But it is the ship in Marsh, so we do have progression.
Yeah, and I think the play we'll see out of Edge following this. You've got that ruby, you've got a decent enough walk at the start of this encounter cycle. as long as you're able to purchase save items in the Melmont town location, it's probably going that direction, see what Sarda has to offer.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that play. Go over to Melmond, check what town's there. While you're in the area, go turn in that ruby, check the Titan Strobe, and get your incentive item out of Sarda. For all we know, that could be the floater, and we could actually have a jet seat in disguise.
Crabcake seeing a Brack ambush again, reset out of that encounter, and restarts the walk over to Provoca. That is a very nice walk, but unfortunately at the end of it, more wolves. And Shadow, what did we just find?
That is the Power Gauntlet in Marsh, in addition to the ship. Power Gauntlet casting Saber in battle is a huge utility item for the end game. It makes it a lot safer to dive that Temple of Fiends, so Edgeworth has got to be very happy seeing it.
Well, the theme of the Swiss round was called Sail the High Seas. We have a free canal, so we don't have to find the canal anywhere to be able to sail the ship. It really opens up the world in a different way, and has caused us to rethink a lot of routing decisions, and have to get a lot more comfortable with sailing from point A to point B.
Yeah, and the combination of having that free canal and the town shuffle really does make a lot of interesting decisions for you. And Crabcakes is going into Sea Shrine, it looks like.
Well,
she is a mad wolf on a mission.
I have always said, whatever play you're going to make sure it has a chance to work. So, Crabcakes is making this play knowing there is absolutely no way Edge has already made this play, so you have a chance. Although, you do not have a chance of surviving Thunder at these levels from the Sea Trolls.
Yeah, Thunder with no ribbons is not a good combination, so definitely something we don't want to see.
And it's going to be a question of how common is that encounter?
Yeah, Asher 1611 pointing out in chat, no ribbon, no exit, we don't have warp. Our only spells on the table for taking out enemies are Ice 2 and Fade. Fade being a good option, of course, but Red Mage and Black Mage don't have a whole lot to do in these battles.
No, but what we do have is even that which we would generally consider a bad experience encounter was worth 2 or 3 levels for every member of the party. So it was really easy to get those early game.
Yeah, absolutely. Crabcake's going to gain a lot of levels here in Sea Shrine. Coming to a late game dungeon so early is very lucrative when it comes to experience point.
Stun touch Nagas. The good news is they're not hitting hard. The bad news is that fighter does not have a weapon yet.
Yep, so we're going to have to just hope we don't get stun touch too much and throw out the Fade when the White Mage gets unparalyzed.
Looks like very high magic defense.
Yeah, Nagas do have a good bit of magic defense. It looks like they rolled a decent bit of HP today. Edgeworth finds Elfland at Melmond, finds Lit 3 at level 2, or Lit 3 at level 3, and I'm sure Crabcakes would jump at the chance to have that.
Yeah, you just have to get through Marsh, and it looks like Crabcakes made the decision coming into this race. If there is another option to Marsh, take it. Now, seeing that early free item, we know from our perspective that really hurts the chances of this play working out, but there's plenty of other things that could work out in this. Let's say you find Masamune down here, and Edge go modes this dungeon. That's a potentially big advantage.
Oh yeah, there's still a whole lot of chests to check in the Mermaid side. If you find a ribbon, or gold bracelet, or Maza, or even a Sun Sword, just something to get off the ground in that early game, that could really accelerate Crabcakes' ability to kill things.
Meantime, this is superior to a Peninsula Power Grind because you've got that in right there. And checking the magic to see Ice 3 and Faster at level 7, Harm 4 at level 7. Not very good for the Red Mage.
Yeah, those are some spells we really don't want to be seeing that high. Ice 3 being the best of the elemental magics, Fast being an almost necessary tool for the end game for melee combat. That feels really bad.
Life's
Life at
at
level
level 4.
4. So the red mages are going to be able to learn that after promoting. White mages are going to be able to learn that without class changing. So that's nice. And Edgeworth is skipping the ruby turn-in.
That is an interesting play, so it looks like he's looking for towns. Or did he just remember that he has the ruby?
He saw it as he was saving.
Ah, there we go. You and I both thought that's the play he would make here. It just sets up well for it.
Yeah,
but sometimes you're thinking ahead to the next play you were going to make.
Right. If this sort of turns into canoe or floater, and Edgeworth were to not make this check, it could be a long time before he comes back here. He doesn't have a whole lot of options without the canoe as far as exploration. But there's a lot of sailing to go check the town at Crescent Lake and the town at Onrak.
It looks like the pictures become a little more clear for Crab Cakes as Edgeworth finds the adamant, and I kind of figure you follow the fetch quest, you take that back to dwarves. But Crab Cakes took the levels out of C and is now going to be able to make a much safer dive against this unknown marsh cave that we saw be fairly tame.
And I think that makes a lot of sense too. EXP on the table as far as a quick boost to your levels. If this marsh cave had been really nasty and Edge tried to dive it early, Crab Cakes in her mind is probably thinking, I'm safe now. I can deal with whatever marsh cave throws at me. So, a bit of a gamble. Unfortunately, this time it didn't pay out for her. Marsh was relatively tame.
Although Crab Cakes is going to be able to check the north side while here, which Edge did not because he lacked any save items at the time. What Edge did find in the Titan's Tunnel, though, was the game Clencher, as we have come to call it, the Bane Sword, which gives you unlimited casts of the spell Bane, so poison smokes aplenty available now for Edgeworth.
Looks like Edge is going to do a quick check of the Earth top floor. This is something that he likes to do. Just check these first 5 chests, and if we don't see anything, just reset out. And if we do, great.
This is a very quick check if you've got a good encounter table, and he was already in the area anyway, so he didn't make a special effort to come here to make this play. So this is very good on the risk-reward scale. It's not a lot of time invested, and hey, if all you get is ice armor, that's a pretty good find.
Yeah, ice armor feels really nice on that fighter. One of the best 2 pieces of chest armor for him, between the ice armor and flame armor. I think technically steel armor gives better absorb, but the fire or ice resist are a big deal.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, people are going to consider ice and fire tied for best pre-promotion that the fighter is going to get.
Oh, Tarn and correct me in saying that steel armor has the same absorb.
Oh, well then, that's automatic. Da-da-da-da. It's also a whole lot cheaper to find ice armor in a chest instead of buying steel armor.
Yeah, steel armor tends to be very expensive, and while it's the best chest armor you can buy in the shop, it is very common for it to be 30k plus, which is much more than I'm willing to spend on it.
Edgeworth didn't come here for ice armor, but you're not going to turn it down either. Crab Cake's continuing to clear this marsh cave that Edge already did on the south side, but the really interesting thing is going to be seeing Crab Cakes potentially go to the north side, which Edge skipped.
Yep, she steps away now from getting her power gauntlet. If I was in Crab Cake's shoes, would I dive north? I feel like there's 4 chests up there. One of them you can check if you check the link chest. I probably would skip it. Crab Cakes is a very strong runner. I would expect that she'll skip it, but maybe she gambles on it, so we'll see what she does. And while Edge is headed out now, He's going to go turn in that adamant that he got from Sarda. We'll see what the dwarf blacksmith gives.
I think this is fascinating that you can justify either play very easily. Edge is also checking the item shop. You have to keep your eyes open, even though he's buying cabins. You have to keep your eyes open for the vendor item, because you don't know where it is, so you have to keep looking till you find it.
Alright, so Crab Cakes is out and not going to check the top side.
Alright, you called it. It's the saving of time by not having to go there, but boy, if there is anything there, that is the very last place anybody's coming back to.
Yeah, if for instance we see a loose loot that happens to be in the top side of Marsh, I would expect our runners probably to full clear the rest of the game before coming back to Marsh.
Right, what does the adamant armor turn into?
And just the canoe.
Well, I think
Not
the sea
terribly
just told us
surprised.
where to go next.
I mean, does it though? There's a good number of places to go check now. You could check Ordeals. You could check Waterfall. There's a town by Waterfall. You could check Crescent Lake. And there's Ice Cave.
Yeah, to me, it screams go Ordeals, and then swing over to the Onrak and Waterfall.
Yeah. I definitely agree that going to the north end of the map makes a lot of sense. I personally like checking Ordeals I like checking Waterfall and the town more first. Two opportunities to see the progression. For instance, if Provoca is at Onrak, that's an opportunity for the floater as well as the Waterfall. And it looks like Edge is going to go check the Onrak continent first.
Alright, well, you've got the town to check, which could still potentially be Provoca. You've got the incentive item in Waterfall. It is Provoca. You've also got the Oasis as another potential destination for the vendor item.
Yeah. And all of those are like plenty of reasons why I would prioritize this check first. If you do see floater here, maybe still do Ordeals on your way over to go pick up the airship. But I definitely like checking this area first.
Chat would like to know if we've seen anything nasty so far as Edgeworth finds the crystal. We have seen the wolves on the Overworld and in Temple of Fiends casting Brack. We have also seen Blaze come out of Trolls, I believe it was. Oh, Imps. My bad.
Yeah, and
Thunder
Sea
Trolls.
had something. Thunder, that's what it was.
Yeah. That was the Sea Trolls, not the regular Trolls. Crabcakes will pick up the adamant on her side. And not far behind Edge, especially considering the extra time invested in getting those levels.
Yeah, I think Falconic pointed it out first a couple minutes ago, but despite taking the time to head all the way back over to Onrak and do that first floor grind to get a couple of levels, Crabcakes has really made up some really good ground, and I think still has better levels than Edge does for spell charges and HPs, so definitely maybe a little bit behind as far as progression, but not by a whole lot.
Fire 3 is at level 2, also Cure 2 and Ruse. So Ruse will be night learnable, which is a fairly nice luxury.
Yeah, Ruse will be night learnable. The only downside is you have to make the decision of whether or not you want to come all the way back here. Checking the Onrak town is very far out of the way, so yes, it would be great if we can get Ruse on that night, but I'm not sure if we'll see either of the runners double dip for it.
You make a good point. I'll make the one counter argument that if you turn in the tail, it's not that far from there.
Oh, that's also a fair point.
After finding some whiz mummies, they're usually a good source of experience as long as you're able to kill them.
So Edgeworth has continued to leave the red mage petrified. Crabcakes is leaving the red mage dead. In both cases, we're seeing them go with a 3-man party. So neither one of them going to get the EXP distribution advantage there.
In Crabcake's case, I think it's really justified by seeing that fast at level 7. Not only do you know that seriously diminishes the value of the red mage, but you also know, okay, I'm probably going to want 3 casts on my black mage wizard. So what level do I need to be at for the end game? Well, I'm going to need more experience along the way to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be probably doing the same thing in this case, prioritizing that fast over the value of the red mage. She does have a white mage, so she'll have the opportunity to cast Life and Life 2 even without the red wizard, so I think that is definitely a smart play.
Well, the other advantage the white mage brings is you've already got the second user of AoE damage magic. That's usually what the red mage brings to the table over the white mage. Having that right now makes it much less painful to be without a red mage.
Yeah, absolutely. And that fade was in the second slot, not the fourth slot. If it was the fourth slot, the red wizard and the knight would be able to pick it up after promotion. But in this case, only that white mage will ever have that fade spell.
That is the canoe for crab cakes. Now the world's pretty open. You can get to all but 2 towns without the floater. So, fun fact, it is actually logically possible for the airship to not be required in these flags. I haven't seen it yet, but we've come close. And this is the party giving crab cakes the business. Rub came out, stone to the knight. That was just all kinds of nasty.
Yep, fortunately, she's now got access to that level 4 magic. Just cast Life on the black mage, and we're back in business.
Quickly wanted to note, Edge is seeing one of the worst enemies that Waterfall has to offer in the Nightmares. Their base evasion is just really, really high, so unless you have a bunch of spell charges, they're going to be annoying to deal with. And he saw, seemed like 4 or 5 of those encounters on the way to this room.
That white mage is just barely hanging on, has 1 hit point left, and manages to get the AoEs out, so Edge is going to get through this fight safely.
Well, you know, 1 is all you need.
That's right.
As long as you survive by 1, you can heal up like nothing ever happened. Now, does Crab Cakes make the same routing choice? Do you go to a different town? Do you check out Crescent Lake? Do you find the Mystic Key from the robot if you're Edgeworth? Spoiler alert, yes you do.
Mystic Key and gold bracelets. Some very nice finds.
We've found some pretty decent equipment for the fighter at this point. Not necessarily top tier, but very solid.
Crabcakes hits up Crescent Lake, and we find Melmond. Exit at level 5. And Fire to Lit 2 at level 5 for black magic. So, not the greatest of spells. Exit's really nice, but we don't quite have the levels to be able to cast that just yet anyway.
Was curious if Crab Cakes would go to the Ice Cave or Volcano first. Does not. Working on going north, so I think this is a play to the Onrak area first. Because Ordeals is kind of in the middle of the map, so if you want to go from south to north to get there, you want to line up with Elfland Castle pretty well, and that takes you right to Ordeals.
Yep, swinging around the south side of Onrak, coming in from the west as opposed to the east like Edgeworth did. So she is going to check the Onrak town and find Provoka here, as well as the waterfall.
We've still not seen the vendor item.
Nope, it could be at the caravan, or it is going to be in the town of Gaia when we eventually find it with the airship.
And the bats. Always the bats.
Bats are jerks. Birds are jerks, and bats are the second closest thing we have to the birds. First being parallax or cockatrices.
Got the tents here, edges out. I gotta figure he's gonna make the walk over to Oasis, at least to see if it's there. You may not have the money for it at the moment. If it's an expensive item, he will not, but you want to know it's there.
Yeah, with the run off a power cycle, I definitely think it's worth the time checking. Looks like you can get there with just a power cycle, and it is here. It is the rod.
That's very interesting for a couple reasons. I hate leaving the key item behind when it's there, but also that it's the rod. Pretty unlikely that the floater is behind the rod. Possible, but not likely, so statistically it's solid to leave it behind.
Yeah, at this point it's pretty likely that floater's going to come either from whatever fetch quest ends at the Ordeals dungeon. Either we just get the floater outright or we get an item that leads to it, or from Ice Cave, so we will see. Could still have the floater being our loose item, but there's only 3 opportunities left for it to come from.
Edgeworth enters Castle Ordeals. He finds that the first choice in Pillars was wrong and resets to take advantage of the good walk at the start again. The 4 choice is the second room. That's pretty good news in my opinion. I like to get that one out of the way as fast as possible because it's the one that can really slow you down the most in your routing.
And Edgeworth gets through on the 3rd split. So top into the first pillar on the 4, and then into the top again, I think it was.
Gargoyles.
Cupcakes also gets ambushed by the Wiz Mummy pack. Unfortunately loses Zoe to the physical attacks. Like we got a little bit of vanilla sleep touch going on here.
Question in chat, if Ordeals is a bust, where should they go next? Bust is a relative term, first of all. It's pretty unlikely to have nothing as we get an out-of-bounds bat sighting. But you have the crystal for the turn-in, you also have an incentivized Ice Cave, so very likely to see progress from one of those 2 locations.
Yeah, I forgot that we still haven't turned in that crystal. Yeah, I very much expect that both of our runners will probably turn in the crystal after getting out of Waterfall. Well, they'll do Ordeals first because it's right there. Then between either Ordeals or turning in that crystal, we're pretty likely to have the floater, and if we don't, then we go to Ice Cave.
Chad asks about the possibility of going to grab the rod with money from Ordeals. That is a fascinating question to me, but I feel like the answer is no if I were running the scene. How about you, Shadow?
So, I think because you can land on the caravan with the airship, the smart money is that we will find the floater before needing the rod. A lot of runners tend to put the Earth Cave off until the very last dungeon. So I would bank on being able to come back with the airship to pick it up, and that's going to be a lot faster than sailing back.
Yeah, I'm pretty on board with that. Edge started to walk north down that hallway. I'm not sure if he was looking for a good encounter or what. Finds the chime in the chest.
We have the chime and the cube. What if our loose floater is in Sky?
Well, you know, if I were racing either of these runners, that's a gamble I would gladly take. They still have a couple incentive locations ahead, so options abound at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to see what that crystal turns into. Edgeworth probably going to make the safer play, probably going to go turn in that crystal, and then if that doesn't pan out, I expect he'll go to Ice Cave. But I know there's a couple of runners, myself, Fizzlebeef, who would be seeing that chime and cube and be all over that Sky play.
And it has more benefits than just treasure, we should explain, because it's one of the highest experience dungeons, and also there's a whole lot of treasure chests, so when you're looking for a loose key item, it's a likely destination. Also, it's very likely to have other good stuff. What kind of good stuff could they find?
We still have a lot of endgame swords on the table. We haven't seen the Sun Sword, the Vorpal, the Mazmune, the Excalibur. We haven't seen any of the... Well, we did see the Aegis Shield, but we haven't seen any of the other endgame Knight Armor, Opal Armor, or Dragon Armor. So there's a lot of equipment, and we're still on the lookout for ribbons. We haven't seen a single one of those yet.
One of them is potentially in the incentive item pool, 3 of them loose in the world, and we have the slab.
So the slab is interesting. We're not going to be able to actually get the item out of that until we've got the floater. So now the floater is either in a loose item, and at this point, that could actually be a loose item in any chest in the game outside of Topher. Because we have access to the rod, we have access... Well, we've got the Oxyel already for access to sea. We've got the Chime and Cube, so we can literally go to any pre-Topher chest in the game at this point.
Including the key-locked ones, which seems to be the play for Edge. It's a move that makes infinite amounts of sense because you got access to a lot of treasure without fights, so they're very quick to get to.
Yeah, and especially with that that early run again, we'll be able to sail around on the boat really quickly. Edgeworth finding a lot of cash in Corneria Castle, so now eventually when he gets back over to the caravan, he'll be able to afford that rod. Falconic wanting floater to be in sea. You know, Falconic, what if the floater is loose in sea, but it's in TFC? So you had to get the Mystic Key from the robot in order to go in and get it. That would be really funny.
Edge taking advantage of the routing to pick up some spells that he had to leave behind because of budget concerns before. Now with 45k in the bank, he could be a little bit more flexible on his spending.
Alright, so Crab Cakes is fighting the Nightmares now, just about finished up with the Castle Ordeals checks. Some big damage on the White Mage, but does get the Fade off to take out the Nightmares. Level 13 now for our 2 party members.
Two party members do gain experience a lot faster. Great.
Yeah,
Edge has bypassed the dwarves for right now. He only checked Astos Castle. He's in a hurry to get to his destination.
I can see the sense here. He's going to have to come back for the TNT at some point anyway, so probably thinking that he can just route those 2 in at the same time. So I can definitely understand not wanting to go into the keylock chest, because essentially that'll make 4 dives into Dwarf Cave, because we did the first dive where we saw the loose bottle, then we had to come back for Adamant, then if he checks the Mystic Keylock chest now, he'll have to come back again for the TNT. So I definitely understand not wanting to do that.
Now, Edge is gonna town check here at Crescent Lake, but right now he can already piece together there's no way to use the slab yet, because you could only either translate it at Melmont or find Lethane.
Ooh, really cheap pro rings. That is a very nice find. Gonna provide 8 more absorb for all of our party members, as well as resistance against the death element. Very, very nice.
I am a big fan of picking up a couple of them early. There's 3 of them loose in the world, so I'll usually buy 2 of them if I have the opportunity and figure I'm gonna find 1 or 2 more. Edge says they're cheap enough, I'll just buy them all.
Yeah, I usually find myself in that camp too. Just wanting to get that absorb as quickly as possible. I tend to take a lot of mages in my parties and they need absorb badly, so I definitely prefer buying them as quickly as I can. Well, Heal 3 is also in White Magic at level 5, so finally a really good healing option on the table.
That's really good for the White Mage to have those 2 spells on the same level, because you only need 1 charge of exit, so you've got a bunch of charges available for Heal 3 as you level up.
Alright, Edgeworth is going to take that trip over and go check out the Ice Cave now. So we'll
Ice
see
or
if Ice Cave leads
volcano?
the floater. I expect he'll go into the Ice Cave first.
He thought about it.
Okay. He was thinking about it.
It's another case where maybe that early walk entices you to the armory. Especially in Volcano, where you can get so many lava tiles to walk on. You can probably get into that armory without an encounter, or perhaps only one.
Yeah, I definitely think you could do a lot of chest checks there, but that would be double dipping a dungeon if we're not just killing carry while we're here. And I think the odds that the floater are here, because we know essentially it's a 50-50. Either the floater is here in Ice Cave on the incentive chest, or the item that leads to it, or the floater is going to be the loose item. So we will see. But I feel like floater's probably going to be here in ice, and I think this is a smart play.
Found a black shirt in with the dwarves. I didn't really see any good other big highlights. So the ice sword is a pretty good highlight. That's a better weapon than Edge is able to wield right now.
Yeah, definitely a nice piece of gear. If we get class change, we'll be able to equip that for gold bracelets worth of absorb, as well as some extra elemental resistances. That'll feel really good. But in the meantime, it's going to be just sitting there in our inventory, casting Ice 2 in battle. Also a very nice option for us.
And possibly even the ice sword better, because we've not found any other good weapons right now. Edge is not using a particularly good weapon. I'm just not sure which one it is. But we haven't found anything great until that ice sword.
Yeah, Ice Sword's probably the minimum bar that people will feel like this is a weapon that is acceptable to go into the endgame with. Anything less than Ice Sword just does not put out the kind of damage that you need.
Thank you, Chad, for coming through, saying that Edge is using a longsword he purchased for 1100 gold. If you are using a weapon you had to purchase, that feels bad.
Yeah, the one acceptable weapon to purchase is a silver sword, in my opinion. I won't buy anything less, and often I don't even check weapon shops because of it. But even the silver sword just does not have a lot of attack.
Edge has decided he needs more absorb right now, and should also be swapping the rune sword for the long. There we go. Yeah, taking advantage of that better attack. And Crabcakes picks up the slab.
Crabcake's now with the knowledge that the floater is 50-50 either loose or ice cave. See what she does with that knowledge.
A big hit from that Wraith for over 100 damage. Now, you don't have a lot of armor on this party right now, so it's not surprising you could hit a squishy mage for that much damage, but that's still a big number.
Yeah, Wraiths tend to hit very hard, and they tend to have a lot of critical. Feels like a lot of the undead in the game favor critical hits. You've got Wraiths, you've got Ghosts, you've got Phantoms. They tend to have a lot of attack with a small number of hits, but pretty high crit rate, and it generally hurts when they hit your mages.
Those lighter gray tiles, ice patches on which you will take damage just the same as Volcano with the lava. Edge has done a fair bit of running away using Black Mage for that. He is the second best class in the game for doing that, behind Thief, of course.
Alright, so Crabcakes has done all of her Mystic Keylock chests, of course, excluding Marsh Cave, because nobody wants to double dip Marsh. So she is now off to go do Ice Cave, after translating her slab.
Does Edge have a charge of exit left over? I gotta figure he does. He's one who would realize that and ration for it.
Yeah, I think the exit charge is more valuable than the heal 3. Heal 3 saves a lot of time healing up and saves money on buying heal potions, but The exit charge is just way too valuable in ice skating.
The Melmon check for crab cakes. Getting those pro rings. Selling an Opal shield. There's 2 of them plus the Aegis shield, so it's a really easy sell. Especially if you already have the Aegis shield.
Alright, throws out a Fade Against the Eye, and it goes down a single cast. And we do have a floater and ice cave. So Edgeworth is finally going to be able to get himself into the air. Doesn't even stop to take any more eye fights. He's going to get out of this dungeon and go get in the air.
This I'd say it's on the higher side of levels for this progress in the game. Time-wise, it feels pretty spot on. But now the complete world is going to be open to Edge. Gotta figure you're purchasing the rod, as well as getting to Lefane to find out what item that slab turns into.
Yep, and we know that Lefane and Gaia have to be in Gaia and Lefane. Not sure exactly which order, but we know both of those towns are going to have an incentive item left open to us, so I would expect we're going to check those right away.
And we find out they are going to be in their positions. Level 7 is Nuke and Brack. That feels bad.
Fortunately, that Black Mage can learn Nuke without being promoted, so we don't have to come back here, but definitely feels bad that we're not going to have very many spell charges of that. Especially given that it shares a level with Fast.
Crabcakes made the right call, went to towards the incentive chest here in Ice Cave, and we'll soon find a floater. We didn't see a whole lot nasty here, other than some crits from those wraiths. So, a lot of possibilities here, but I gotta figure fetch quest item. Yep, the herb.
So we know that this is going to end up in either the loot, the tail, or the ribbon that's in the incentive pool.
Could be TNT as well.
Well, at the end of the fetch quest chain.
Fair enough. Of course, the rare cabin possibility still exists. I got in the first round. It does happen.
I mean, I suppose it's technically possible. I don't think we would see it this late in the game.
Incentive ribbon.
Okay. Incentive ribbon from Lefane. So, does that herb lead to tail, or does that herb lead to loot? And if you're these runners, if it leads to loot, do you dig for the tail?
I think you look for tail in greed chests. Right now you don't have a lot of reason for it other than Aegis shield. We don't have a sword that depends upon it. We don't really have spells that depend upon it. It'd be nice if the knight could learn ruse, but that's about it. So I want to touch on a question that was raised in chat about the bridge that's over the canal that we sailed under early in this seed, and we've flown over it a couple times. This was something that was added more recently in the randomizer, like I think even within the last 6 months, if my memory doesn't fail me this time. That was a change in particular designed to avoid a soft lock / allow more scenarios. Because you could end up with the boat on the wrong side of that canal and be technically soft locked. So by putting a bridge there, it allows the ship to move through, and it allows the character to walk over that and have a completely free walk through the southern continent.
Edgeworth checking out the Cardia Isles. Haven't seen anything of high value yet.
Well, that would be something of high value, as you say that.
And suddenly a Mazmoon. Well, now I definitely don't think we need the class change. We've got Mazmoon, we've got Power Gauntlet. I would say maybe if we can find a defense sword, that would be a really nice pickup. And we're still going to want maybe another ribbon. We've only got one right now. But definitely feeling a lot more comfortable with our in-game sword now.
I was actually going to mention he found something of moderate value with the Thor's Hammer, which is good for giving you unlimited lit 2s. Sometimes that just helps sweep an annoying encounter out of the way without wasting a high-level spell. Really more value in the early game than late.
Still pretty valuable in C, and we still have that dungeon to go, so definitely a nice welcome find. Edgeworth doing a couple of Keylock Topher Temple of Fiends checks. Didn't find anything good, though. I'm going to turn in that Irby, and we're going to find out, are we in go mode, or is this the tail? Well, it'll probably be the TNT first, but eventually we'll find that. Nope, tail straight away. So we know our loose item now is the TNT and that it has to lead to the loot. So we are still on the hunt. Alright, so Crabcake's now picking up her floater. About 6 minutes behind Edgeworth right now.
Between these two runners, that's really not a lot. They know how to make up a lot of ground really quickly. And you're going to have to be on the top of your game. You know that going in against a player of the caliber you're against, that you really have to execute as best as you can, because your opponent may not forgive any mistakes you make.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The runners at the top tier of Final Fantasy Randomizer, you can't give anything away. If you give away even 30 seconds, it's far too much. So, while that 6 minutes that Crabcakes is behind currently might seem like a lot, if Edge takes a wipe anywhere or forgets a check that Crabcakes doesn't, the game could turn on a dime.
There's one of the loose pro rings in the world. And the white shirt. That's big news for Edgeworth. And you talked about the defense being a good find. This alleviates pressure there. It's not as good, but it's still very valuable.
Yep, definitely a very nice find. Edge also finds a flame shield to go with that ice armor that he's got.
That is a great defensive find, because with no ribbon on that knight right now, that'll stack your element resistances. Well, now you have a ribbon for that knight, and mage staff to go with it too.
That second ribbon's going to make Edge feel much safer now.
Silver bracelet also not bad. Pick up for a mage who doesn't have anything else.
So I'm a little bit surprised that Edge has not class changed yet. He did get the tail, and I would think that if he's going to take the time to class change, that he would go ahead and do it immediately. That way, if he's gaining levels, those levels are getting him spell charges for his knight. But maybe he's decided he doesn't want to waste any time going after spells for the knight, and doesn't really care about the spell charges.
Crabcake's leaving the poor Tyro alone. Didn't do anything wrong. No reason to pick a fight there. I think both of these runners firmly on Team Tyro.
I know Edgeworth is. I'm not sure Crabcake's stance on that.
A lot of players will take that fight for the overall value of the experience that it gives. I've been kind of an advocate this tournament of not really doing it because I don't see it as worth the time investment. They tend to be a little bit durable and just not worth the if you spend 2 or 3 rounds on it and divide the experience by that, it's actually not very good.
Yeah, you always have to be concerned with not only the experience you're getting per fight, but more importantly, the experience you're getting per time. XP per minute is definitely far more important in the long run. If you can take 2 fights that get you a little bit less EXP, but you can do them faster, versus 1 fight that gives you more XP but is slower, it can often tip the balance in the favor of the quicker fights.
It's an interesting position to be in. We know we need one more item. We have to find the loot for go mode. In that process, you may find things that cause you to decide the tail has more value. Right now, all Edge has in that category is that Aegis Shield, which does have some value, but not a ton. You've got the ribbon. But you might find something like Dragon Armor that makes it a lot more valuable.
Well, he is going to be able to equip the Aegis Shield. I would also be looking at the option for the White Mage to equip that white shirt. Provides gold bracelet level defense as well as some additional resistances.
Oh
As
my,
he finds
third ribbon.
Never mind. I guess now the resistances aren't quite as important.
We'll have to find out what the Agamemns are made of. With Masu, usually you'd expect it to go down in one swing. And they do. I don't think Edge will take a grind here, especially not if he's even contemplating class change. But you still might pick up 1 or 2 extra ones just to move you closer to 24 is going to be a big level for that Masamune.
Yeah, I think with how quickly they fall, you go ahead and take the fights on the Agamatile in and out of the red deep chest. And you do exactly what Edge is doing here. You swing out with the fighter and you run away with the other 2, and whichever clears the fight faster, great.
So now he just has to get through carry. The damage output will be there. That's not the concern. The concern is how hard does carry hit back? Or first, depending.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Temper, he's got Fade, he's got Mazza, so this fight's going to go down very quickly. Carry being very friendly and just throwing out an ink. Does roll up on HP, though. A little higher than her normal 600 HP. 750, not quite enough. But that gets the job done.
Yeah, these fiends are not going to live through too many 4+ damage hits.
Edgeworth's going to take the time to check the second floor chest that he skipped earlier. What is here? I guess still skipping the hairpin chest, though. A long walk just for one chest. Or just make a liar out of me. Alright, so at the end of this long walk, do we find anything of value? The answer is an opal armor.
So the opal is the same amount of defense as the dragon armor, just doesn't have as good of resistances as the dragon armor. But when you have a ribbon on the knight anyways, you don't care, so it's more about the absorb. And the absorb of opal plus Aegis has probably tilted the scales where Edge's class change.
Yeah, this definitely makes a lot of sense. I would definitely be on board with class changing right now. Crabcakes, in fact, already has class change. So
That immediate defense is nice.
Yeah, the extra absorb that the knight gets out of the endgame armor saves a lot of time healing in battles. especially when you have a dead character in slot 2. The knight is taking approximately 75% of the attacks, and that's going to save a lot of time and a lot of heal potions.
Edge is really redoing his equipment. Nice thing about the ribbon is it really makes a lot more sense to put the power gauntlet back on the knight now.
Yeah, it gives you that option to be able to cast it in battle, the saber off the power gauntlet, and not lose any of the resistances that you'd be getting out of the pro ring.
Edge is heading in to Mirage. Still needing loot, which is very likely behind TNT.
Yep, there's a huge amount of chests in between Mirage and Sky, so definitely coming in here after Volcano makes a lot of sense.
A veteran move, as Wilcliosis likes to say. Edgeworth took a reset instead of walking the rest of this floor, knowing with the encounter table such as it was, he was going to be able to get all those chests checked encounter-free.
Yep, decides to go ahead and keep the Zeus Gauntlet that he found. As we're diving into the second floor, we're going to check the less than greater than chests here.
Zeus is a utility item with the Lit 2. We do already have the Thor's Hammer, but that gives you potentially 2 free charges of Lit 2 every round for Sea Shrine.
Yeah, and especially if you're giving those to like the Knight and the White Wizard, you suddenly have 3 people that can do lightning elemental damage, and you can clear those fights out very quickly.
The other thing is, it is Red Wizard equipable, so you do have it as a defensive option. Crab Cake's working through the volcano, soon to come upon the Fiend of Fire carry. This would be the first orb for Crab Cakes. It was also the first for Edgeworth, who just located the Vorpal.
Looks like he's going to take the time to clear out an inventory space for it.
Finds the
Sun
Sun
Sword.
Would have been great early, but probably not anymore. You're not going to unequip Masamune for it for sure. The White Mage is down because vampires.
That was a big hit. 285 damage on a critical hit. Just obliterated that White Mage.
One vampire not very threatening. You put them in a 5 or 6 pack, that's a different story.
Now, Edge might be thinking that this is actually a bit of a blessing in disguise. If he wants to try and get some more HP and levels on the Knight and the Black Wizard as quickly as possible, the White Mage being dead here isn't the worst thing in the world.
Now, it's potentially slightly higher risk in not having life charges, but these are the 2 you absolutely want to level up. You want the Knight to get more levels, to get towards that 24 at least for swinging the Masa. Also more magic defense, more HP, lots of good stuff. The spell charges for the Black Mage, we've talked about it a couple of times. That fast, sitting at level 7. The more charges, the better. 3's kind of the minimum you want to go into Topher with.
I think that depends on your party, but in this setup where we only have the one caster, 3 charges of fast makes a lot of sense.
I should specify though, 3 is the luxury level. 3 is what lets you use it on Kraken, Tiamat, and Chaos. And it won't even always necessarily work out that way because sometimes Kraken's going to take out your Black Mage anyways, but just maybe you got that fast off for those 2, and that set you up for Chaos better. So how many Agavas does Crab Cakes go for experience? Already class changed, so there's value in getting those spell levels for the night.
Looks like just a couple.
Definitely took an extra.
Knight and Black Wizard level 21 now.
Well, we were asked a little while ago if we saw anything nasty. I'd say damage poison counts, and we just saw that from the volcano.
Yeah, damage poison definitely counts in that list. Fortunately, we do have 3 ribbons now to be able to deal with it. But if you see that early, that can be a real problem.
Moving his spellcaster items and still looking for this TNT. Or actually, he's looking for loot, but
right. I mean, we're going to be turning in a TNT to find that loot, almost 100%.
12 hits from the Angry Medusas, and right now you're really glad they don't have Death Touch. Or do they? We don't know. Using Temper here, that's an interesting call. Apparently these Grey Nagas are very high on their HP. They're usually a pretty low HP, good source of experience. Worth less than an eye, but they're usually going down in one round of good damage.
Yeah, it might just be something for that Black Mage to do in combat. Temper's level 1, so he's got a lot of charges for it.
That will be Orb number 1 for Crab Cakes at 106. Restores the Fire Orb, and now with the airship, has the entire world available. Looks to be going towards Mirage.
And so Crab Cake's continuing to kind of follow in Edge's footsteps, has maybe made up a little bit of time here. Feels like Crab Cakes isn't quite as far behind Edgeworth as she was.
And there's the crown. We had kind of overlooked it because we already have the key on the tracker, but that was loose as well. So that is roughly a 50% chance of go mode at this point. But that's a pretty big gamble to take.
I think it has to be in go mode. It has to be go mode at this point. Pretty sure, unless we somehow get a cabin seed trolling us. But that crown really should be leading to the TNT, which leads to the loot.
So Chad is getting on me. Shouldn't it be 100%? Well, it's absolutely not 100%, but it's a whole lot closer to 100% than 50. So you're mostly right, just not all right. But the logic makes sense. The crown would lead to TNT, which leads to...
Alright, so we do now know that this was the play. We are fairly confident that this was the play anyway. The second loose item has been located. We're going to be probably go-moding and not opening up any more chests if I was Edgeworth. There's a lot we're going to have to be clearing out still. We got to finish this dungeon, we have to do C, and we still have to do Earth Caves, so...
I haven't touched on this yet, but if you're wondering why the enemy sprites look different on Crab Cake's screen, that's what's called a fun percent flag in the randomizer. It doesn't change anything about the game, just the appearance of the enemies by doing some palette swaps. So it's available to anyone who wants to, and they can play that with fun percent flags on the randomizer. If you want to see more on the randomizer, the best place to start is the website, FinalFantasyRandomizer.com. Chad is cheering for it because Edgeworth is on the Bridge of Destiny. Is a Warmech sighting incoming?
I think the bigger question is if Edgeworth sees a Warmech, does he try to take it or not? I feel like Edge might think that his levels are decent enough that he doesn't take it. In this situation, you're up against either Crab Cakes or you're up against Edge if you are Crab Cakes. I'm not sure I would be futzing around with trying to fight a high-risk, high-reward enemy in Warmech against these two runners.
If you already had that extra swing on Masa, I think you'd do it. He brought the Red Mage back to the Tempers. I love the play.
Yeah, that Red Mage was sitting there petrified, uses a Salt Potion, gets that Temper off. Red Mage has done his job, he has earned his nap again. And we're swinging for about 400 damage on Tiamat, so
Slow
lots of damage
out, but it missed.
Yep, That's really good news. Another 4 hits and almost 700 damage later, Edgeworth is down to Tiamat to light his second orb.
23 at this point. Edgeworth is going to want at least one more level on that knight, but even if he had all 4 party members up, he would certainly get that in Sea Shrine. But absolutely checking the quest items first. You've got a certain king hanging around with bats to deal with first. Because if this is that rare circumstance where you're not in go mode, better to find it out before you go through dungeons instead of after.
If this is that rare circumstance where we do get a cabin from this TNT turn-in, and the loot is up in sky, our runners are going to feel really bad.
Yeah, and earlier what I was thinking is that both Crown and TNT could be loose, thus it could be the Crown that led to loot, or TNT could lead to loot. So there were multiple scenarios available there. But Edge is definitely treating this as go mode right now. And will he check the dwarf chests now?
I would think so.
Earlier.
It's a lot of chests for not a whole lot of time, and if you're already there turning on the TNT, I think it's a good amount of things to leave to want to check them to not leave on the table. For all he knows, the defense sword could be there. I think with the volume of chests for the time investment, definitely worth doing.
Chat makes a good point. If the TNT is Gavin, he's gonna check these, but it is the loot.
There it is.
And he will bypass those chests.
Alright, so Edgeworth just has 2 more dungeons to finish up for being able to go into Temple of Fiends. I'm going to go ahead and tackle Marsh Cable is right here. Crabcakes is going to see her crown. That's going to put her in go mode.
No mode. You know you should be in go mode, but you just haven't actually seen it yet.
Fair enough.
And those Georges are giving Edgeworth's Red Mage the business. He didn't really need that Red Mage anyways. I don't think he was swinging the Masa there at all. Trying to do it with magic instead. 16 damage though from the White Wizard is enough to finish off the last one, because why not?
Yep. Doesn't have a whole lot of HP on those Ogres. So I definitely don't blame him for trying to use the AoEs there. Took him a little bit longer than if he'd swung out against the Ogre, but you never know.
Crabcake's fighting some red hydras that look like they're made out of metal. They're more like made out of lava. Or just made out of delicious EXP, because that's a great experience to encounter the 4 red hydras.
Crabcake's getting some rock goals up in sky. Gonna take the fight for the EXP.
It's always interesting to see how things develop, but that one chest that Edge just walked by in Earth Cave has kind of become a greed chest because there's no encounter there. So it's a couple extra steps for an easy check if you are still wanting something. Edge with those 3 ribbons says, I'm good.
Crabcakes on the Bridge of Destiny now, approaching Wormek, making her run. Approaching Tiamat. We still have not seen a Wormek.
No, but we could. I think Crabcakes is going to be on a pretty similar encounter table from Edge, so I don't think we're going to see that.
They've checked basically the same things, so I would expect the same fights to be coming out. Edge runs over the vampire speed bump in Earth Cave, making his way through the 4th floor now.
A lot of unrunnables in this Earth Cave, which isn't terribly surprising because we really didn't see a lot of them in either Marsh Cave or Ice Cave. So they had to be somewhere.
It feels like there's always a lot of unrunnables in Earth Cave. It's yet another reason I don't like diving in.
A lot of variety of enemies, so more chances for it to roll onto one of the formations here.
Crabcake's fighting a half vanilla palette Tiamat, the other half being very red.
And restoring orb number 2 now with fire and air. And likely to do the same thing Edge did in turning in those checks. Right now, not really a lot of difference for Crabcake's routing, unless it goes into Sea Shrine first. That could be a difference.
Well, Crabcake's off fast, so she wants to pick that up. Definitely makes a lot of sense to stop here first.
I could see the Go mode play while you're here.
Yeah. Just go ahead and dive into Kraken, kill him straight away. I don't expect many of these chests will be checked. Perhaps the ones in the Sharknado room, but other than that, maybe the long hallway. At this point, there's not a whole lot of runners want to see, so...
Yeah, Go mode if you need stuff. There's 5 that are really easy to get to. There's 2 in the room. Hey, sea trolls have thunder, in case we forgot that from earlier. 2 in the long room, and then 3 at Sharknado are all really easy to get to, and about 4 extra steps combined. Question in chat, what's the Sharknado room? We'll highlight it when we get there, but original game, it has a trap tile with 1 to 2 great sharks on it.
Yep, the Gray Sharks and Whiz-Hags tile has kind of adopted the name of the community, the Sharknado Room. I believe Tarnin joining us in chat was the first one that coined that? Am I right on that, Trenton?
Not exactly. You may or may not be in the booth with the person who can do that much.
Oh, I apologize.
We have this habit of naming rooms because it makes it much easier for reference purposes, and we just didn't have one for this room. And it just dawned on me, call it Sharknado. And it kind of stuck, because people like calling things fun names.
Crabcake's on the Kraken's floor, making great work of this Sea Shrine. Edgeworth just a couple floors behind her. Crabcakes does still have to go do Earth.
Yeah, our community is fond of nicknames. We do that a lot. But it's very handy for rooms so that you can quickly reference things when talking about them. We're about to see Crabcakes versus Kraken, and Edgeworth is not far behind, going for his last orb.
We'll have to see the time difference between our runners when they're entering into the Temple of Fiends Revisited. That'll be our first real milestone for determining just how much of an advantage that Edgeworth has. We know he's a little bit up on time, as Crabcakes is still going to have to go do Earth after this. But it's not probably more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a case where a wipe and Topher nullifies the lead. Also, Tardan made a good point in chat that co-op basically makes you need to name everything. You've got to have names for quick reference like that. And that'll be a vital part of the upcoming co-op tournament, which stay tuned to the Speed Gaming family of networks, because I'm sure we'll have a few of those around here.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people in the community that are really excited both to run in those and to watch those. It's going to be extremely interesting and definitely going to change the way that people play this game. Damon Cord, thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription for Speed Gaming 2. Crabcake's turning in that TNT, or turning in that herb to get the TNT, rather. Forgot that she's still going to have to go in and hand over that for the loot.
It's a quick movement, at least. Edgeworth versus Kraken. Crabcakes didn't have any trouble here.
Kraken went rolling surprisingly low damage, not even taking out the Black Wizard.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't get as much respect as Kraken 2 does with damage, but he is capable of rolling some pretty high attack.
Crabcake's now making the tear through Earth Cave, trying to get through that fourth orb as fast as possible. Edgeworth, meanwhile, going to step into Topher at, call it the 122 mark.
Setting up for it, got the heals in the first column like you like it. You don't have to be a task level menuer like Edge is to really quickly heal when those heals are in the first column. Anything else is a minimum 2 button presses. That one's just 1.
Yeah, if you've got just a few items that are offsetting those heal potions by 1 or 2 slots and you can burn those off, it can often save you a decent amount of time. Not a tremendous amount of time, but it'll shave, 20-30 seconds off your Topher dive.
Edge found the 4 gas dragons. I like to call that the fight that broke the experience scale. Because if you have any kind of experience bonus on, the 4 of those will overflow the amount of experience per battle if you were on the vanilla levels. But our dev team fixed that, which is a little more complicated than I'm going to go into right now. But you won't overflow, and you can level up multiple times per battle now. Phantom is runnable, so Edge just says, "Good day, sir."
Yeah, anytime that Phantom is runnable, and especially when you get good turn order on it, that helps a lot. Phantom just eats heal potions.
Chad asked an interesting question I don't know the answer to. Basically, if you did the absolute maximum possible in experience, which has gone up now from what it used to be, could you overflow again? Now I'm curious to check that out.
I think it can. I think if you go just absolutely crazy XP, if you set it on 5x plus 500 with 20% per key item, I believe it is possible. If not, you can get real close to it.
Fun stuff. Devs break the game, we break the devs' work. It's a fun song.
It's a fun little dance we do.
But we do almost never play with experience bonuses that high.
Yeah, it's generally a goofier, a little bit wackier flag set. We did end up doing that in the Chaos Rush flag set that we were doing, but often in that Chaos Rush you weren't going and getting that many key items. It was just to make it so that way the grind didn't take quite so long.
Goodbye, Lich. And hello, Lich. Crabcakes restores orb number 4. Edgeworth is on to Lich number 2.
Crabcakes taking some time to go do some shopping, it looks like.
Oh, well, this is an easy one to get to. tense, but I think Crabcakes was thinking heals. Or must want a spell here. Was this Ruse?
This is where we saw Ruse, so perhaps that's what she's after. A little bit of safety for that night. If we see a nasty Topher, this could really pay off for her.
Okay, with no defense sword. That is finally a divergence that could make a difference for Cece. Edge obviously did not come here for Ruse, but now you've got that one extra tool that Edge does not. Edge does have Carry 2 down and is onto the waterfall.
Yep, Edgeworth making great work, great time here. About 4 minutes into his dive, 4 minutes and 20 seconds-ish. And he's already on Kraken's floor, so this is going fairly well. Takes an ambush as Wizsahag and Gershar fight. They're definitely eating up a little bit of his time, but we haven't seen anything too dangerous yet. That's either a good sign or a bad sign. And, only time will tell.
Wappy in chat made another good point that Crabcakes really didn't lose anything. Like, Edgeworth was already in here, already needed a wipe. So now you have, if that happens, one extra thing to give you an advantage here.
Yeah, if this ends up being a really nasty Topher, you know, we see like a Kraken 2 that just one-shots the White Wizard right off the bat. I definitely think that could be a little bit of an advantage for Crabcakes here. Crabcakes does obviously need the wipe still for the opportunity to catch up, but Crabcakes is no stranger to making a come-from-behind play in Topher. In her last match, she was a couple of floors behind me, and she just did Topher faster and was able to overtake her opponent and come back from behind and win.
7 hits from the Masamune, that is not a high evading Kraken at all, and quickly went down to Edgeworth. On to Tiamat. Edge has been able to blaze a trail through this Topher. Out comes Blizzard.
And we're coming out swinging right away. 4 hits for 50 damage, so not high evasion, but it does have a lot of absorb, so we're going to need to stack some temper charges here. I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see any power bonks. Ooh, and a nasty nuke comes out. Big damage on the White Wizard. 6 hits for 491 damage. That's much better. We're starting to stack the temper now. 4 hits for 285. Not high HP for Tiamat 2. Down it goes.
Could have been monumental if that Black Mage went down. Edge is still in pretty good shape with Chaos with these two, and that was part of leveling these two. But boy, if that Black Mage had gone down to a higher nuke, could have been enormous.
Yep, so now Edge is going to have to try and get fast off from the Black Wizard before the Black Wizard goes down. He is able to stack some power bonk charges, but he does not have any sort of evasion available to him. So we'll see how he plays this fight. Polsey's going to go for fast right off the bat. It's very important to get that out first. It's going to double the attack power that night. Does not get it though. Turn order punches the Black Wizard down. Has 2 power bonk charges. Starting to swing now. 5 hits for 139, not much. Lit 3 comes out, 34 damage. 5 hits, 53. A lot of absorb on this Chaos. And Edge is not in a very good position here. Run comes out and effective.
Chaos is hitting pretty good and fires off a nuke.
More power bonk charges, but we don't have a lot of time. Slow 2 misses the Knight. Chaos has slow 2, but it missed the Knight. That's very important. 5 hits for 854 damage. Lit 2 comes out. Another swing. 5 hits, 681. 2 hits for 235, and down goes the Knight. And now Crabcakes is actually in the lead.
And Crabcakes has Ruse, so the ability to defend against those hits from Chaos. This game has tightened up considerably.
So Crabcakes has Ruse. Edgeworth was not able to get off the fast, didn't have the white shirt available on a live character. We know that Chaos hits very hard, but he also has some nasty AoE, so we'll really have to figure out what we do to adjust here.
I think the biggest adjustment Edge makes is just goes pure blitz offense on Chaos, on not Chaos, Kraken and Tiamat trying to get people alive back to Chaos. You gotta try and get Tiamat down before that nuke comes out.
Yeah, we know Tiamat does not have very much HP now, so it is definitely possible that we could just get her down without her getting that nuke out. Crabcake's turn at the bat. Swings in for almost 300 damage, Fade for 230, Temper for the Knight. Gonna swing for a lot of damage now. Just throw out some chip damage with Fire 3 as we're continuing to swing with the Knight and fades. 184 and down goes Carry 2.
Chad makes another interesting observation. What if Edge had left the fighter in the top spot? Could have lived through a couple rounds of hits, but Fast would have gotten off. The damage was good. Gotta figure that's another adjustment Edge makes when he gets back. But
yeah, that's definitely
can't fault that play at all.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of bank on leaving the Knight in the third slot. Not only does it keep your Knight from taking as many physical attacks in the beginning, but it also sets up the potential to enter that RNG loop where you enter into, say, a critical loop with Chaos and the same results of combat happen over and over again. So it's a very common play to move that Knight to the back row to try and set that up. Kraken 2 now for Crabcakes. Continuing with the Temper strategy, move the Red Mage up to the front. Getting great turn order for Crabcakes, and Kraken goes down without an action.
Definitely helpful. Now all 4 members alive. This is a little more efficient movement through floors because Crabcakes didn't have to menu and res the Red Mage because of surviving Kraken. Edge is back onto the earth floor. Take the call against Tiamat.
So, Crabcakes is up to bat. Throwing out some white shirt for some Invis 2 charges. Fast comes out. Hans is now going to have twice as many attacks. Nuke comes out right away, but the white wizard is able to survive this time. 7 hits for 200. Power bonk. Going to heal. We've got heal 3 available on the white wizard. Tiamat has fast of her own. Temper comes out. Heal 3 is going to top the party off a little bit. We're back in business. Starting to swing again. Gonna keep going with the heal 3 strats. Want to keep the party's HP up at the top. Temper comes out. Heal 3 comes out. Good turn order for Crabcakes. Hans comes out. 7 hits for 800, and down goes Tiamat 2. Edgeworth, meanwhile, on Carrie's floor.
Outstanding play by Crabcakes there. Did everything right. And Edgeworth is about to get back to Carry 2. All 4 party members alive, assuming the rock columns don't do anything nasty. Going into Chaos, that's a big difference when you put the Red Mage at them instead of the Black Mage. There's a lot going right here for Crabcakes, but that nuke is going to come out early. You've seen a little bit of a spell-happy Chaos. Does he live long enough for it to roll through twice? Take it, Shadow.
Alright, Crabcakes entering this fight with all 4 party members up. We're going to continue with the offensive strategy. We're going to ruse with the Knight, white shirt. We're going to stack the evade as fast as possible. Fast and Temper coming out. Fast goes off. Black Wizard is able to get that fast off. That's going to do it. Double our attack damage. Ruse comes out. Zoe gets punched for about 300 damage. That's bad news for the White Wizard, but importantly, we did get the white shirt charge off. So we're going to continue to stack the evasion, stack the tempers. Swings for 9 hits, 33 damage. Not a whole lot of damage. Crabcake sees the absorb on Chaos. Tempers continue to stack, and the white shirt continues to go out. We're going to switch over to the power bonk now, continue the white shirt stacks, continue the temper stacks. We know that nuke is coming. Gets the white shirt out. That Knight now has 5 stacks of evade, so he's going to be very likely to be able to resist the attacks. Lit 2 comes out, does not quite wipe out the white mage. 10 hits for 1130 damage. Big damage coming out now from Crabcakes. Edgeworth on Kraken 2. Crabcakes fade goes in for 141 damage. Another 10 hits, 670 damage. Lit 3 coming out. Down goes the mages. We're down to just the fighter versus Chaos. Chaos misses, 9 hits for 625 damage, coming back again. 10 hits, 821. Big HP on this Chaos. He's beefy. Edgeworth catching up. He's on to almost Tiamat 2, but another 9 hits comes out for over 1,000 damage, and Crabcakes takes first place with an official SRL time of 1 hour 35 minutes and 21 seconds. GG Crabcakes.
Outstanding race. I mean, these two delivered everything we were hoping. A come from behind win just from Temple of Fiends going a little bit better for Crabcakes than it did for Edgeworth. It really was a case, in my opinion, where it wasn't so much chaos, it was the fight before chaos that set that up. Edgeworth took the wipe, and again, the high nuke rolls come out. They take out Edgeworth's mages. So
Edgeworth's not having a good go here. He's really had the bad end of this RNG on this Tiamat 2 fight. Another 4 hits come out, 285 damage, but he's down to just 1 man.
Well, he knows he could deal the damage against this chaos. Does he maybe spend 3 rounds, 4 rounds, Power Gauntlet just to get as much damage off 2 swings as he can and hope that's enough?
I kind of feel like you have to go for that kind of a Hail Mary. You know, throw out the power bonks. You don't have time to get the evade up. You know that Chaos has a bunch of AoE available to him anyway. Without that ruse available on the Knight, I feel like that's what we're going to have to do here.
He moved the white shirt. Now he's got the Invis too. The good news is that'll protect you from Chaos's attack. The bad news is it will not protect you from Nuke.
Punch comes out, 119 damage. That's 2 stacks of evade now.
Unchappy Chaos still doing 180. So low on HP now, he would be iffy to survive a nuke.
That's 4 stacks now. So as long as we don't see the big nasty AoEs, we're in good terms here.
Nuke is next.
Out. 87 damage, still taking some physical attacks.
Oh, rub!
Rubbed through a ribbon! And that's never how you want to see it go down. With that, Edgeworth says enough and throws in the towel.
So, by the way, Crabcakes did join us in the Speed Gaming chat, asked if Edge to wipe. Yes, he did. That was his second wipe to Chaos, unfortunately. It was a seed that could do that to you, and if it had been higher nuke rolls, could have affected CC as well, but I'd have to look back to be sure. I think CC was actually 2 levels higher. So, maybe even just a little bit more magic defense and a little bit more HP.
Alright, so we're seeing now if we can get our runners in the chat for an interview.
And don't forget, there's plenty more Final Fantasy Randomizer going on this evening. We do have another race scheduled to start at 10 o'clock here on the same channel, so I hope you'll join us. A little bit of discussion going on between the runners in the SRL room about what October offered. Edge will fall to 4-1. He's still in the brackets. Crabcakes, though, with the 5-1. 5-0.
Yeah, Crabcakes is gonna earn her bye. And we are joined in chat now by Edgeworth. Edgeworth, GG. You were leading basically the entire way through, but it was a small lead. Crabcakes has immaculate execution. She was just minutes behind you, and unfortunately when you took that wipe, she was able to catch up and pass you.
And looks like his mic is not quite functioning right now. He's usually able to fix that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I figured I was done after the first wipe. Maybe I should have thrown some Banes out or something instead.
You played that seed very well. You were the first in Marsh. You were the first to get the ship. You were the first to get the floater. how were you feeling as you were going through the seed and things seemed to be kind of going your way and you were kind of cruising along?
I thought I was behind. There were a couple of things that caused me to go slower. The wolves with Brack coming out of Onrak, and I had to leave my red mage petrified, dying in Temple of Fiends the first time, not revisited, and the white mage getting killed on the way up through Sky. Like, all of that, that was not fun. And I think if the white mage didn't get just absolutely one-shot by that vampire, I probably would have had enough HP to survive that first nuke.
So Edge, one question that we had kind of going in here, when we saw you guys loading up with your parties initially, you've been doing a lot of double fighter, and this time you decided to go fighter rainbow. What led you to make that decision?
So just the fact that I can't leave the chance of early exit against someone with as good of execution as Crab Cakes. Like, it's certainly double fighter is a safer party, but if something good lands early, I'm gonna have to remake my party. So let me, and if it doesn't turn out that way, I can always stand the white mage. And as it turned out, Fade first shop white mage only turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, we both saw you and Crab Cakes do some very similar plays. You guys both took the Brack on the red mage in the very beginning, and you both left the red mage stand for the majority of the seed. So it was kind of funny to see you both make the same decisions. You guys both played extremely well the whole way through. I think it'll be a great one for you to watch back.
Are you kidding me? I don't want to watch myself die twice.
Well, fair enough. Trenton, what kind of questions do you have?
You know, it was, in my opinion, a pretty straightforward routing from Edge. Nothing about it really surprised me. It really seemed like it was Tia who set up the bad chaos the first time, and the second time was obvious. But did you change strats for Tia the second time around?
Yeah, all I did was heal the red mage more to survive the blizzard, and then nuke came out the first turn and killed all three mages. So I don't know. At that point, I probably should have thrown in the towel, but figured, hey, maybe I can get some good turn order on Chaos with the white shirt, and then he punches me twice. So what are you gonna do?
Well, in your case, you get to get ready for the brackets.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Crab Cakes. Earning your 5-0 means that you get a bye going into the first round of the brackets. Meanwhile, some poor sap is going to have to play Edgeworth in that first round of the brackets. And I am sure, Edge, that you will be making your presence felt all the way through the bracket stages. So, GG to you. You've had an excellent go of these Swiss rounds. Only taking one loss, no shame in that.
Yeah, just wish it was like if this was like just a minute closer, I would have felt a lot better about this. But hey, Crab Cakes played great too, so no shame in that.
Well, let me throw out some thank yous. First of all, Speed Gaming for hosting us this evening. Super Luigi being our super tracker in the background. Of course, always appreciated. Thank you to each and every one of you who joined us this evening. You had as much fun as we did. And if you're thinking, oh boy, I wish there was even more I could watch, well, you're in luck, because we're out 15 minutes away from St. Bon Jester versus Gregley Puff. I hope you'll enjoy that as well. Thank you, Edge, for joining us in the interview. Thank you, Crab Cakes, as well, for both running a great race for us. Shadow Walker, it's been a pleasure. Go ahead and take us home.
All right, well, in case you haven't already, don't forget to follow these great runners. Crab Cakes and Edge Stream, extremely good members of the Final Fantasy Randomizer community. Always entertaining to watch them do practice runs or SRO races. Give our hardworking crew members a follow. Trenton GL, Super Luigi 52, myself, And don't forget to stop by the Discord or the website. Link is www.finalfantasyrandomizer.com. You can play the randomizer yourself. You can find the FFR community's link there. And definitely stop by and say hi. We love teaching new people. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everybody that's come out to watch, and have a great night.